What is no-fault divorce? Hi, I'm Oklahoma attorney Justin Mosteller, and today we're going to talk about one of the most frequent questions that I get over the last few years, and that is, what is no-fault divorce? The topic has come up frequently in the media and kind of the world at large outside of the legal community because some legislatures have been working to end no-fault divorce. And so that's caused a lot of people to ask, what is no-fault divorce? Before the advent of no-fault divorce, in every state in the union, if a party to a marriage wanted to end the marriage, they would have to prove some fault on the part of the other person in the marriage. Traditionally, that would be abandonment or adultery or physical abuse. And when those grounds were required by the law, that would mean that a divorce case would require a lot more litigation and careful proof of what is being alleged. So if you are seeking a divorce or were seeking a divorce on the grounds of adultery, then you would have to prove to the court that adultery had been committed by your spouse before the court would allow a divorce. Now, this caused a lot of dramatic situations and expensive litigation when the parties in a marriage wanted that marriage to end. It also spawned a practice, a very common practice at the time, where if the parties to a marriage agreed they didn't want to be married anymore, they would essentially file a petition alleging adultery or abandonment, and then the other party, the one being accused of those things, would admit to it, even if it weren't true, so that the divorce could be granted. Now, in response to that issue, legislatures around the country began to institute changes that allowed for parties to seek a divorce without alleging fault. That's where the no-fault divorce comes from. Technically speaking, the actual grounds in Oklahoma for a divorce without fault is irreconcilable incompatibility. That requires a showing to the court that the parties don't want to be married anymore, and that that the grounds upon which the marriage was based are no longer there. In practice, it really only requires one party to the marriage to say, I'm done. Now, this has been very contentious over the years, and as divorce rates have gone up, a lot of people have pointed to no-fault divorce as the reason for those numbers moving upward. No-fault divorce, while it might be controversial, does allow people to end a marriage without having to prove grounds on the other party. And that allows victims of domestic violence to access the courts more easily and to get out of situations that they would be trapped in if no-fault divorce was not available. It also means that divorces are less expensive than they otherwise would be. And that's a surprise to a lot of people because, as we all know, divorce is pretty expensive. But it would be even more expensive if you had to prove fault on the part of the other party. Now, in Oklahoma, you can still allege fault on the other party and ask for that in a divorce. It is not commonly done because of those higher evidentiary standards. If you allege adultery, then you have to prove adultery. That means you have to subpoena witnesses and provide documents to the court showing that the other party committed adultery to be able to get your divorce. And because it's ultimately unnecessary with the grounds of irreconcilable incompatibility being available, most parties choose not to pursue it, even when adultery has happened in a marriage. Now, in terms of the impact of alleging fault versus no fault, you're just as divorced one way or the other, regardless of what you allege as the grounds for the divorce you're seeking. Fault can still come up and be important in other aspects of a divorce, such as property division and alimony. But in terms of actually getting a divorce granted, you no longer have to allege fault on the part of the other party. If you are having a divorce or a family law issue in the state of Oklahoma, reach out to the Wirth Law Office. Our motto is to make law easy, and that's what we strive to deliver every single day. Thanks.